because
she came here to settle. Of course, your body's going to gain more weight back because you haven't been eating those foods and now you're eating in a caloric surplus. And it's just this cycle, and then you feel bad about it, and then you jump back into something more restrictive.
You don't know the difference. You don't know that what you're eating is making you feel like crap.
Wouldn't that be crazy? I'm just always bloated because my mom was always bloated.
Don't listen to how your mom did it. Don't listen to how your grandma raised the family.
Josie lives an 80-20 lifestyle.
Oh, yes, she does.
That was damn good advice.
Welcome back to the Sis Let's Heal podcast. Today is an episode that is really special for us because it's the first time we're welcoming a guest, and it's someone who helped shape our relationship with food, health, and lifestyle from the very beginning. We're sitting down with our mom to talk about what nutrition and health looked like when she was growing up, how those beliefs influenced the way that she raised us, and how her perspective has evolved over time. This conversation isn't about blame, perfection, or doing things right. It's about reflection, how generational beliefs around food and bodies get passed down, how they change, and how healing can happen through awareness, grace, and growth. If you're a mom, planning to be a mom, or just someone trying to build a healthier relationship with food and your body, this episode is for you. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's heal together. Oh, and just a heads up before we start, this episode does include a short conversation about miscarriage near the end, starting around 1 hour and 10 minutes to about 1 hour and 17 minutes, depending on which platform you're listening. If this topic feels heavy for you, please feel free to skip that section or just listen when it feels right for you. There are still some golden nuggets at the end, so I wouldn't want you to miss the whole thing, but just wanted to give you a heads up. So this is exciting. It's exciting. Let's hop into it because I feel like we're gonna definitely talk a while. First question, what did food, health, and being healthy look like when you were growing up?
So I don't know if we really thought that much about being healthy. I know I was always active, so I was always in sports or something like that, and we were always outside playing, riding bike. So I don't think growing up food thought was healthy. It was just more like get outside and go, run around, and entertain yourself.
What was like a normal meal for you? A normal day of eating for you?
So getting up in the mornings, we would probably have a cereal. I remember a lot of like Honey Nut Cheerio or Pap was always a shredded wheat type, so the frosted shredded wheat. That would be a morning. Sometimes it would be that peanut butter with sugar and dip it in milk. That would be a breakfast.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
on toast?
I know.
On toast?
Well, no, we would just do it on bread. We wouldn't do it on toast, and we would fold it and dip it in some milk. Yeah.
Oh.
And then we would go to school. And we'd always buy lunch. So whatever that lunch was, that's what we'd have for lunch. And then you'd come home, and Graham was somebody that was home before us. So she cooked a meal every night, and it was a meat, a potato, and probably a vegetable, but it was more of the corn, peas, lima beans.
What was your favorite meal?
Well, it definitely wasn't liver. So my mom would make liver, mashed potatoes, and corn. That was disgusting. Favorite meal? Probably lasagna. Something with some type of pasta.
I was just giggling at the fact that Pap was like a hidden fiber junkie with his shredded wheat.
Very much so. He and even to this day, he'll get on the shredded wheat kick. Have you guys ever had shredded wheat? It like expands in the milk. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's like eating hay.
Especially when it's not
at
frosted.
Least you need some frosting to put a little sugar in it.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the peanut butter bread.
Yeah, because I remember when we were growing up, one of our breakfasts was like peanut butter toast with sugar.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
Do you remember that, Ellie?
To this day.
Me too.
The bread and the dunking sounds a little crazy.
Just
and then the peanut butter.
Raw dog in the bread.
I graduated to the toasting of it. Yeah. because before it was just and the peanut butter and the sugar.
Do you think back when you were growing up that like body image or like weight was talked about much, like either in your household or just like in social media and like it is now?
It's really funny that you say social media because there was none growing up.
The news, the local
Yeah,
news channels.
the local news. I don't remember sitting down and watching the news and them, constantly being in your face about image or anything like that. Um, Growing up, I know my mom was on this constant roller coaster of diet pills, but that was the thing back then. It wasn't let's change the way that you're eating. Let's take a pill and it will make you lose weight, like the Dexatrim or something like that. Like that's what I remember growing up and watching my mom go through. Again, I just kind of stayed active. So we still ate the same food. We just were active. But I was never a skinny child. I just wasn't. I was always muscular, very athletic.
What do we think is in this Dexatrin?
Oh, I have no idea. But it worked. When you were taking it, it probably was an appetite
Okay.
suppressant, because it definitely worked. And I know in my early 20s, that's what I saw. So I actually, tried some of those type of weight loss pills.
Okay.
And they work for the short time that you're taking it.
So, according to Wikipedia, it's caffeine, green tea extract, Asian ginseng root extract, and dehydroepiandrosterone, DHEA.
Oh,
That's probably what's in it now. God only knows what was in it 25 years ago,
that's true.
30 years
25.
ago. I know I was thinking I was a lot younger than
I'm 27.
Ugh.
no, I don't
We're
feel that
aging
old.
ourselves. So, when you then became a mom, what beliefs or like habits did you have around nutrition and health, and maybe even consciously or even subconsciously like carried over? And maybe which ones did you want to do differently?
I really didn't know that I should do anything differently. I didn't have, the knowledge to get onto a computer to research any of that. So when I was a young mom, you just depended on how your mom did it or how, your mother-in-law did it. Or so you really didn't have the ability to research other than reading the book of what to expect when you're expecting, and I did read through that. I knew like affordability wise, it would be cheaper if I started to make some of this baby food. So I did attempt some of that. Um, but for the most part, I just did what I could. I was pushed into breastfeeding. And I say that in all positive way. My ex-father-in-law, Ellie's grandfather, was a pediatric doctor. So he really explained to me the benefit of breastfeeding. And I even remember saying to Elle's dad at the time, like, well, if it works, it works. If not, I mean, I was brought up on formula. What's wrong with that? And God bless Ellie. She knew exactly what to do. And it was very successful for me to breastfeed. So I was able to breastfeed her all the way up till she was a year. So I knew she was getting some benefits, but I didn't realize the big picture of what benefits she was getting.
Let's specify he's a pediatric GI doctor, so gut health. He's very passionate about formula and how that impacts the gut. So it's actually very glad that he kind of forced you to do it.
Yes. And I know what I wasn't taught was, or really maybe listened to, was the fact that my nutrition would affect Ellie. Like I didn't realize that. So God love her. She, as a baby, was always constipated, always had like those belly ache type things. And now learning from you, Kaylin, and all the stuff that you have gone through with Josie and knowing that nutrition and stuff, that's probably what Ellie's biggest problem was as a baby, was that I didn't eat the correct foods while I was breastfeeding her.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, is in that what to expect when you're expecting. Like, I highly doubt that they were educating mothers on how they should nutritionally be eating. I'm sure they don't even do it now. So it was kind of like taking a walk through the dark.
Yeah.
What were you eating?
I would just probably eat what I was brought up eating. Like, so at the time when you were a baby, your dad worked away a lot, so it was just you and me. So, and I worked full time. So I think it was just the convenience of, again, I was not a big fast food person, but every once in a while we would have, that occasional McDonald's or Burger King, um, whatever was quick and easy.
So was it a lot of like freezer meals or box or bag meals?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, boxed Salisbury steaks. That was a big thing. Hamburger Helper was a big thing. It was, again, it was what was easy and convenient. Sometimes cereal. Sometimes that was what I'd
Now,
have for supper.
when I started eating as a child, what did that look like? Then did you think like I have to give, or was it just what you were eating?
So as you started to eat, I was able to make like the fresh pears, fresh apples, um, puree type stuff for you to eat. But then it was store bought and baby food. So, and I knew I needed to get a meat in there and a vegetable and a fruit. So that would be the little jars I would buy, and that would be what I would try to feed you. Not
They
whole
have
foods.
meat, baby fruit?
Oh yeah, it's like
What?
mushed up fake chicken, and it looked horrible. It smelled horrible. But again, I fed it to you because that's all I knew.
And what I've learned now about like the store shelf kind of like baby foods is, they do cover the base with like the meat, the fruit, the vegetable, whatever. But usually the fruits, the vegetables, they're like so high temperature like in their process that it just strips it of all the nutrients anyway. And then they backfill it to either give it calories or whatever, and they like fortify it. They pump in sugars and those corn syrups and all of those things, but they're not adding in the fats that are really important for like brain development and just development overall for the baby. So even now, like what I've learned, like if you're going to go that route, like make sure you're getting them those fats so they can develop properly too.
And then when you hit a year, did you just cold turkey stop breastfeeding, or is that when you started to introduce food? When did you start to kind of introduce the food?
So at a year, it was recommended to introduce whole milk. Once I introduced whole milk to you, you didn't want to breastfeed anymore. So you kind of made that decision for me. And then, to be honest, I'm pretty sure I probably just started, the mushy stuff. Like you were a mashed potato girl, you loved mashed potatoes. Mac and cheese, you loved mac and cheese. Hot dogs, cut up small. So those chicken nuggets, like those were the little things that you loved to eat.
Question. Did you not give her any solid foods until she was a year old?
I don't remember that I did.
Crazy.
I don't remember.
That is crazy.
So again, that's why when Kaylin, you started to introduce those natural foods to Josie so young, I was blown away. And even like remember all the comments that you got whenever you would go out to family gatherings and stuff, and all of the people my age and older, again, they're blown away with the fact that Josie ate what she ate for as little and as young as she was. Like, that wasn't normal.
Yeah. I still think it was fun for me as the mom, but also like having that conversation to like educate people because you just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's so foreign,
So,
I
and
think, to our generation and older.
going back to like formula and all that kind of stuff, did I ever have any kind of formula?
Yeah. You were definitely not a picky person. So if we were traveling or something along those lines, yeah, I would supplement in, but it wasn't a consistent thing. Like, I had formula on hand, just in case, for whatever reason I wasn't able to feed you, or you were at the sitter and she didn't have enough breast milk, whatever that was, there was always that backup.
Can you just tell us quickly, because I know you've told us before, I don't mean to jump back, but what was formula when you were younger?
Oh, I personally don't know. I think my mom made it. I think it was given a recipe and she made it.
But it was common to make formula back when you were a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy to me,
That's
honestly.
crazy.
3 ingredients, so we love the simplicity: evaporated milk, water, and dark Caro syrup for carbs. Where is the
But
nutrition?
what's crazy about, well, you got it. Well, I know they get nutrition through like the breast milk and all that kind of stuff, but they also get that sugarness. So that's where that sugar comes into play, and I definitely get that. But we're missing, like, I don't know what's in evaporated milk, but I know we're missing like omega 6, omega 3s, and like all that kind of stuff. Because even your cleanest formula on the market, you will still see things like sunflower oil, because sometimes they do need that little bit of omega 6. Do you know what I mean? But the formula out there today is probably 20 ingredients.
Probably, maybe even more. But what I'm thinking too, like if you want to compare formula to breast milk, like just all of the vitamins and like micronutrients, not even the macronutrients, but the micronutrients. But if we want to talk about macro too, like the protein, I'm sure there's not a whole lot in evaporated milk. So it's like, how did we survive as a culture?
I'm sure it was just more so focusing on their weight
Yeah,
rather than like how their body is doing anything.
which is crazy.
Well, and I don't think we focused on that type of measurement. You know, when you'd go in and be like, oh, yeah, she gained, like when you were little, Elle, it'd be like, oh, yeah, she's, in the 90 percentile of her weight. She's good. She looks great, blah, 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 blah. And we'd be like, yay, we did something right.
See, she's a chonky girl.
No, literally. Thanks.
So that's kind of like a good segue to our next question, which is, okay, so you went through your growing up and raising just a baby with kind of a blindfold on. But then, as we grew, raising daughters, it just adds like another layer to it all, especially when social media and movies and magazines and everything were coming out. So how aware were you of the messaging that was kind of being pumped into everything we were seeing around body image, around dieting, around just like food when we were growing up?
I really don't know how to answer that question, because I just lived it. You know what I mean? Like, I just did what I could do. Um, Bringing up both of you, at now we've got a stable home where you've got a mom and dad that are home. So we tried to sit down and have the meals, have the family time, create the structure there, whether they were healthy meals or not. I don't know if we thought about that as much. It was more important to us to create that family unit, to sit down, to have meals together, that kind of stuff. So when you guys were little, because Kaylin and Ellie, you both came together when you were 5 and 6. So I think that was when we started kind of commingling, so to say. So at that point,
What?
commingling, well, that's when we started to develop our family, right?
Okay. Say that.
Okay. That's, so when you guys were 5 and 6, that's when we started to develop the family unit. So at that point, Dad
I'm
and I
keeping
were
that in.
commingled. We
Go
tried
ahead.
to create the more family look than nutrition. So some days it looked like Hamburger Helper. Some days it looked like your salad, your pork chops, and your starch. Some days it was just pizza. So it didn't matter what the food was. It was just more important to us to keep you guys together as a family, creating structure.
I will say, with what I'm learning, like when I started that baby nutrition certification, like there have been studies and research that prove just even sitting and having that family meal is so good for development, even if it's not around the food itself, like just for the socialization and I guess bonding of that time. So I think that was, even if that wasn't your intentions, like that's something that was really beneficial for us, even if we don't realize it now as adults. So going back, you had mentioned like a list of some of the foods that we had for dinner, but I know even just like in our kitchens today, if you can kind of like compare, like what are some of the things that you used to cook with that you wouldn't even think to cook with now?
So through education from you two, um, no longer is there any canola oil, vegetable oil, anything like that in our kitchen. It's more avocado oil or coconut oil that I have. I'm switched back to whole milk. That was always a no-no. Like we would have slim milk or no milk. So now you open the fridge and we've got whole milk in the fridge. I know it's not organic, but it's still whole milk. If you look at, my baking supplies were more organic flour or the old organic sugar. Anything that I can buy with organic, I try to move over to that.
Kind of branching out from the nutrition side of things, was there anything around either just like health or even lifestyle in general that you kind of see differently now than maybe you did back when you were raising us?
So again, I think when we were raising you guys, we were busy. We were busy. Like through your school years, you guys were active. You guys were in stuff. Dad and I tried to be a big part of that. Whether it was, going to all your games or watching your plays or your orchestra stuff, or it seemed like we were constantly running with you guys. And that's not a bad thing. That would be something I would do over again and then some. But we lived that type of life of, okay, well, let's just figure it out as we go. So nutrition and exercise or anything like that sometimes fit in, sometimes did not. So we'd get on these kicks like, all right, let's go for a walk every night. And we would do that and we'd try to be intentional with that, but sometimes that would be interrupted because we've got to go pick one of you guys up from a practice, or oh, there's a game that night, or whatever that would look like. So I think in the back of our mind we always tried to be active and do some type of exercise, but that always didn't always happen.
Speaking of exercise, what did exercise look like when you were younger? Was working out like even a thing really, or?
So I remember doing Richard Simmons with my mom. We were able to put in the videotape into the VCR, and we would work out to Richard Simmons. That would be one of the workouts that we would do when I was in my 20s. Taebo was actually very popular. So again, you get another DVD or a videotape and you put that in and you stand in front of your TV and work out. Growing up, no exercise equipment that I can remember was ever in our house. So there wasn't like a stationary bike or a treadmill. Like those things, either we couldn't afford it or we just didn't have it. After I got pregnant with you, and I think I had you, Elle, I believe a treadmill came into the house. So that would be another way for us to work out. And then when Dad and I got together, an elliptical came into the house, and then we would work out on that elliptical.
And the elliptical still lives in the house.
It sure does. And, we still use it. It still works.
Now, when you were a kid, I'm going a little rogue here with my questions. When you were a kid, you said you were always like muscular and all that kind of stuff and not skinny, quote unquote. Did that ever bother you? Or did you ever notice that in school? Like,
I know in school, you always have these girls that are, very thin, very thin, I just wasn't that girl, but I would always just use the excuse is this is all muscle. Look, this is muscle. I didn't feel as if I was fat. It was just more, I was muscular. I could, in cheerleading, do the high, toe touches because I had that kind of power in my legs, right? Or
come on now.
the round off, into a back handspring. Like I had that type of power and physique. Basketball, it was constantly running. So my leg muscles and my butt muscles were always larger. So that's why I thought it was more muscle and athletic build and why I wasn't as skinny as some of these other girls.
So that wasn't like even if you had a muscular build, like that wasn't looked down upon back in the day? Or you just didn't really notice it?
I don't think
You're just
I really,
that girl.
I don't know if I cared what people thought of me, but I think I would defend myself more so than be like, oh, I want to be skinny, so let me starve myself. That wasn't my thought. It was more like I'm athletic. What do you expect?
I like that.
I think I tried to instill that in you guys too,
Yeah, definitely, because you had some chunky gals.
But you weren't chunky.
No. We were. When did you realize you had chunky daughters?
It wasn't
She
so
still
much.
denies it.
She's like, I never realized.
I didn't
I was
look
today
at you
years
guys.
old.
Yeah.
Look at you guys as chunky because, again, you both kind of could share clothes and be brought up in
Chunky clothes.
That wasn't how I ever looked at it.
We were like 11 and could share clothes with you.
It's true.
I know. We were chunky.
And that's not, again, and you guys make the comment like, I'd never put you in a two-piece because you guys were chunky. And
No.
Because that wasn't my thought process. My opinion and my old-fashionedness was little girls shouldn't be in two pieces.
And I will say now as a mom, I get it. I do.
Yeah. So that's where the tankinis
it.
came in. And, your one pieces, it was more because I didn't feel as if showing off your body is something you should be doing at a young age. That was just me.
Okay.
Agreed.
Not because you guys were clo or whatever you're calling yourself, chunky. That wasn't the thought process. It was because
She came here to settle.
I did. I have something else I want to settle too from another podcast
Okay,
comment.
go. Oh God. Okay. Go
Don't
ahead.
say it was the pork chops.
You have the floor.
It wasn't the pork chop. It was when Ellie made the comment, like her middle school years, I didn't feed her. That's what she said. You don't remember any
Okay.
food your middle school.
Okay.
I fed
Let's
you.
back it up.
I fed you.
Because it was high school,
Oh,
and you name one dinner we had in high
we
school.
would have dinners. I don't. It would
That
probably
isn't
be
naming one.
It would probably be pork chops, barbecue chicken on the grill.
Oh yeah, you're
Salad.
right. You're right with that.
But am I
And
correct
asparagus.
with Ellie? You were a very picky eater back in high school.
I was, and I was very busy. Like I would, like we've talked about before, I would go to practice, and then like my junior senior year, I'd go to the gym after practice, and I wouldn't get home till like 7, and everyone like kind of already ate. So then it was like a little sneaky too, because then I'd be like, oh, I just had like a shake or something. But back then it was kind of like, that's okay. But I
Yeah.
would miss dinner.
You would miss dinner because you typically did not like what we made.
That's true as well.
Yeah. But I
That's
did
also-
feed you.
Well,
I did feed
I
you.
know. You did. No one's calling child services, Mom. It's okay.
So you might not have anything on this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How have your own views on nutrition, health, wellness changed as you've gotten older, even from like raising us to even now? Maybe it's like from dieting to nourishing or controlling to balance. Maybe it's appearance or focusing more on energy, longevity, quality of life, those kinds of things.
So now at this time in my life, I think I have more time to focus on myself. So we've tried to focus more on the supplements. So let me back up. So in 2020, when COVID hit, let's just start with COVID, because I think that really was a turning point in Dad and I's health look. All right. So when COVID hit, we started to do a little bit more research on, how to keep our immune healthy. So we looked into those certain supplements, whether they were the vitamins or something like that, to keep our immune up, because obviously we didn't want to get this, and we were not going to go through the whole vaccine part of it. So we started to actually look into the nutritional part of, okay, how do we keep ourselves healthy? Because at the time, I'm working in a dental office where, it's a petri dish. Like there's tons of infection and disease and that kind of stuff, that I've worked with all of my life, so to say, 35 years. So I wanted to focus on how can I keep myself healthy. So looking at that, we started to take some vitamins, and some type of supplements there. Didn't really look that the nutritional part would keep us healthy. Like, I don't think that really clicked. Like, if we ate healthier foods, we would be healthier. I don't think that. So now as we're 5 years into it and listening to the two of you go through your journey and what you guys have learned and shared with us, it's a work in progress, but I think we're getting to the point where we're healthy. Like, I can pat Dad and I on the back because we're both in our 50s and we don't take any medication. There's not very many 50 plus year olds out there that can say that. Like, we're not on cholesterol meds or blood pressure meds or whatever. We're not on any of that. So something we're doing is right.
Mm-hmm. And I will even say now, like, I have to admit, I haven't done like a physical in probably 2 years now. But I know when Tristan has, and And he goes in, he's in his 20s, and is asked, like, what medications are you on? He says none, and they're shocked. What?
Yeah.
And I don't think for our age it's the blood pressure or cholesterol, but honestly I think it's even like the mental health medications that they're looking at now, because so many of the people in our generation are on those. But like you said, you know, you're in your 50s, you're mobile, you know, you watch Josie, you're up and down off the floor, you can run around with her. Like, not many people that are in your age range can do that without, you know, paying for it the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I think we're very fortunate, because if you go back and look at our parents, whether it's Kel's parents or my parents, like there's a list of meds probably a mile long that they're on, you know? So again, there's something that we're doing, because it's definitely not our genetics. It's something that we're doing. We just need to do it more and better.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up too, because I know a lot of people will use that as an excuse. Like, oh, there's a family history, or my parents had it, or my aunt had it, my grandma had it, and they just live a crappy lifestyle because, oh, it's just part of their genetics. But I don't think people realize the power they have with the lifestyle decisions that they make, the food that they're eating, the exercise that they're getting, just how they're taking care of their body, or even down to supplements, which we know first it has to be a nutritious diet, but not using that as an excuse just because someone else in your family has it. I think that's just crazy to be like, oh, someone else has it, like I'm bound to get it. Yeah. Well, what if you're not?
Right. Because I think a lot of that stuff is environmental, and it comes down to what's easy.
Convenience.
And again, you guys have taught us that. I don't know if we really did that all on our own, because when we started that journey back in 2020 with taking some supplements, again, we were only looking at, you know, we just wanted to build up our immune. How do we stay healthy? What supplements do we need? You know, let me take a pill for that. Now I think our mindset has shifted to the fact, like, okay, what do I need to take nutritionally to put into my body so I can stay healthy? And there's still pills for that. Like, you know, we still take, you know, the mineral salts that we're doing. We're still taking our supplements when it comes to that, even more so now in this season where it's flu season. Like, we, you know, are doing more vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. You know, we're trying to think in advance.
Well, the environment you're in too is generally kind of what you supplement for. Like Kaylin was saying that there's like 40 days out of the year, around 40 days out of the year, that like you don't get any vitamin D from the sun at all.
There might be even more.
Yeah, exactly. So like you need to take the vitamin D. So like supplements aren't bad. I don't think supplements are pills. But like when you call the other day and say like Dad hurt his back, like what should I do? I think that's great. That's huge, because he would have just probably taken like a Tylenol or an Advil, and then it would have been like a Band-Aid fix, and then maybe cause problems in the future.
Right.
Whereas we can fix it with like decreasing inflammation through food or supplements or things like that.
Right. And to be very frank, you know, over the holidays, it's tough. It's tough to have those nutritional foods. So I know when you slip away from some of that stuff, I truly believe that's where a lot of his inflammation kind of came from, you know, was because of not eating properly, you know. And it also registered to both of us, okay, he's a pretty fit guy. Like, he's not heavy. Like, he looks pretty good for his age. And he works out. But he needs to focus more on some core work and some back work and, you know, that kind of stuff, which I think he poo-poos and works more on your arms or something like that, because his legs are so muscular. Like, so he doesn't think he needs those leg workouts that you give him, Kay. So if he's going to skip a day, he usually skips the leg day, which in turn,
Oh, you're telling on him.
well, and he'll tell on himself, which in turn, created, I think, his back and his hip flexors and that kind of stuff to not be as strong. And that's where the pain was this time.
Yeah, I think it's huge to do any kind of movement, whether it's fully working out, all the way until like your last day. I know my great grandfather, he like lived into his 90s, and he would go walk. This is so funny. My grandma told me this. He would go walk around the track, and then he would walk the other way around the track because he said he had to work his other leg. And he passed like well into his 90s and healthy. Like it was a natural causes, which you don't see that ever anymore.
Right.
Died of natural causes.
Right.
It's like died of this sickness, or big one is like dementia and like Alzheimer's. Like it's just not, it's not common anymore. But I think what helps is having that activity, having that getting out of the house and doing things, having a bit of community, like just the old ways, back to the basics.
Back to
like
the basics.
we said last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Dad and I's goal moving forward. Is we actually just discussed this a couple of days ago, like just trying to get out there and be more active, with the camper that we bought, so we can take on a little bit of hiking. Like, let's stay someplace, for a couple of days and go look at some of these trails and hike some of these trails. They're doable. It's something that we could just get out and do, and experience. And we don't typically do that. When we go on vacation, it was always point A to point B, and then what can we do at point B? It wasn't let's explore. Let's go out and see if there's a hiking trail or a path that we can take or whatever. So that's our new goal this year, is to hike and explore more.
And I think what people do forget is that it is possible. Like, even the other day, like my grandfather, we talk about him a lot on the show, the GI surgeon one, like he's in his 60s, like he'll still go on backpacking trips by himself, like in the woods with the elements. And then him and my grandmother, they travel all over, and she said that they were in Arizona and they just stopped off at this park and went on a 2-mile hike. Now she's in like her 70s, and like what 70-year-old do you know is going on like this hike and she's fine? And she probably didn't have appropriate like it was probably like a walk.
She probably
like,
had sandals on.
Birkenstocks.
like, she probably did. She probably had her Birkenstocks on. But like they can just do that. So I think what people need to realize is it's not normal to not be able to do these kinds of things as you get older. And when you do get hurt or things are aching, a lot of times getting through it is the only way to do it.
What's really funny you say that, I've noticed since I've stopped working out as frequently, my knees hurt more days than not. But my first thought isn't, oh, I shouldn't work out. It's, I need to work out more because I know when I work out, my knees feel better. But I do think, like, as like you were saying about it's not normal, honestly, I think all of us should be striving to be not normal. Because the norm, the convenience, that's not where we should be wanting to head.
Yeah.
Very true.
Which the way me and Kaylin live, a lot of people think is not normal, which is very sad that our country has gone so far away.
Because I don't think what we do is crazy, honestly.
I don't either.
I would say it's more of like to strive for a general kind of average.
Yeah. Like, and we both have our days, and like we still eat pizza and whatever else, but like
I'm still eating
just
Christmas cookies daily.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's not like we're moving mountains over here, but it's so crazy to me that like people are like, "Oh my god, like good for you." Like, "Wow, like how do you do that?" Or "How do you," and it's like you just do. I don't know how else to describe it.
You have to decide and you have to take action. I think that's the biggest thing, because people set these
Yeah.
goals and they do nothing to achieve them.
Because looking back, Mom, when you were like kind of by yourself during the week and you were busy, and like if you would have known what you know now, do you think you could have maneuvered the time to take action in order to be more nutritious when you were feeding yourself and me?
So it takes me back to a podcast that you guys had done. I think, Ellie, you had done it right before your wedding or right after the wedding, but it was the pre-wedding stress, blah, 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 blah. And you had said that it's a mindset. It is. And most of the time, people have in their mind, like, they can't do it. It's too hard. There's always an excuse. And I found that to be my excuse all of my life. You know, it's that mindset that, oh, I get so far, but now I want to have those Christmas cookies, or now I want to, splurge on a chocolate cake or whatever. And then I feel as if once I do that, it's got to be so much harder to get back on the wagon to start over, and it's the mindset. And I personally struggle with that all the time, because how many times have you girls watched me lose 10, 15, 20 pounds and put it all right back on? Lose 10, 15 pounds and put it all back on. So I've been through that weight loss journey of losing and knowing what I should and shouldn't do, but then you kind of get lazy with it and it all comes right back on. And then you get to a certain stage and you're like, now I got to go back through and lose that weight all again. So it's a mindset that people have, that the only way to stay fit and trim is to diet and not allow yourself certain pleasures.
Mm-hmm. And I think just watching you go through your journeys, like each attempt, like they've been great things. I remember you had that list of foods that you could and couldn't have, and most of them were like produce or meat or just whole foods. And like, yes, that was a great approach, but I think it brought restriction, which we know what happens when we try to restrict is like, that's all we crave, that's all we want. So yeah, you got there, but then, when holidays came around, you felt like you couldn't follow that because it was a black or white, no sweets, no sugar, no whatever it was. And then you feel like a failure. So then you just throw the towel in. And then, of course, you're going to feel inflamed. Of course, your body's going to gain more weight back because you haven't been eating those foods. And now you're eating in a caloric surplus. And it's just this cycle. And then you feel bad about it. And then you jump back into something more restrictive. And I think that's where that mindset is almost crafted, is in that restriction. So now, obviously, learning from us, seeing us go through our journeys too, I would almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, say that you're finding more of a balance in allowing yourself to have those things throughout the process rather than restricting it until you get to the destination.
Definitely. And I think, again, it's a work in progress. Like, it's something that I think I struggle with every day, because it's a lot easier to get up, have a coffee, have a cookie, put on a Netflix show and just chill, other than, get up, have your coffee, go down and do the elliptical, do a workout, go for a walk, something like that. So it's definitely that mindset of, and that will to do it. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me.
Well, I think what also contributes to a struggle is, and we've said with this new year, we're going to come in and clean out the house somewhat, just like how we talked about with like groceries and Whole Foods and things like that. But I think what the struggle is that most people don't realize as well is that when you're restricting all of this and then you're going like having like that cheat day or like falling off the wagon, quote unquote, you really weren't necessarily restricting if you're still putting those inflammatory oils and those 0 to low sugar chemicals and things like that. Like, your body isn't learning to be in this healthy mindset, even though you think it is, because you're restricting and dieting and all that kind of stuff. What will really help your body to actually learn, like, and start to listen to your body is when you're eating just like the whole foods. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one thing like I've tried to in the past year, I think, since listening to you guys and Ellie watching your journey through it, is I cook more with the whole foods. Like I'm looking at the labels now. I'm trying to create those, all right, let's use the vegetables and your cheeses and your milk and stuff to create the meal instead of, oh, well, this has a packet of seasoning and let me just throw that in so it tastes better. I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating that more and more now. So the pasta and the sauce that you gave us for Christmas was absolutely delicious. And I know you used all whole foods, all natural stuff. And Dad and I are like, we need to do this. We need to do this.
Yeah. Which I think it's so much easier to quote unquote stay on the wagon, which I hate the wagon talk. Like, let's get rid of
I
the
do
wagon.
too.
But it's
Okay.
quote unquote it's easier to stay in a healthy mindset when you're not only educating yourself about the food and like what it actually does inside your body, but you're also educating your body at the same time as to, oh, this feels better, and then you will end up craving that as well. And then like now when I look at like McDonald, like never did I look at McDonald's with admiration, but like I can recognize and know fully what I'm doing when if I were to go get like that McDonald's burger. Like I know that's chemicals. And like now I'm making the conscious choice to eat that knowing it's chemicals because I now have the knowledge. My body has the knowledge. My body's mad when I do it because it knows. Do you know what I mean? And then I become so like inflamed and everything. And now I can actually recognize it's because I did that. Not so much, oh, like I just can't lose weight and it's just my genetics and I always like am bloated because my mom was always like, you know what I mean? Like you're your individual person, but you have to
Wouldn't
have the
that be
knowledge.
crazy? I'm just always bloated because my mom was always bloated.
Yeah. But mom, weren't you like always like inflamed and all that kind of stuff? Like,
Well, I believe so, but I don't think I knew I was. I think it was just something that you learn to cope with, and I know for a fact I didn't have the knowledge to be like, oh, I feel this way because I'm inflamed. Like you just don't have that. And until you open, that peace of mind in your life, that what you eat is actually making you feel the way you feel, until you change that, you don't know the difference. You don't know that what you're eating is making you feel like crap.
yeah, and it's in all aspects because weren't you dealing with some carpal tunnel in your hands? And then as soon as we kind of said like stop eating like this and this, did it go away?
So I believe it's more arthritis based, because I am old, and there are days where if I know I've eaten something that I shouldn't have, like my wrist bothers me more than other days, and I'm not doing anything different. That's the only thing I can think of.
But it
So
used to be a lot
definitely.
more painful
Oh,
for you.
I used to have it in both of my hands, and the one hand is completely gone like that. I don't have any pain in that hand anymore. I still do a little bit in my wrist on the left hand,
Okay.
but yeah. So all in all, once you know how your body can feel when you're eating the correct foods, you can learn to know when you don't eat the correct foods and what effect that has on your body.
Now, did you
But
ever go to the doctor for your hands?
no,
You didn't even have to complete the sentence. She's like, no, I didn't go to a doctor.
no.
No,
I,
of course
it's,
not.
I just don't. I really, I don't have a good feeling about doctors. And I know they're good for certain things, but um, I'd rather do a little bit of research instead of just going to complain to a doctor unless I absolutely have to.
Well,
Well, they
because you
probably would
assume you're
have.
going to go there and prescribe you something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree and disagree. Like, I think you should go to the doctor and kind of see where everything is. But, like, if you went into the doctor and they said, oh, you have high blood pressure, let's put you on this medicine, I think then you have the right to say, no, I just needed to know that. Thank you. And then you can go home and assess what you're
Educate
doing at
yourself,
home.
change your lifestyle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
People don't do that
I
though.
think,
People are just like, okay, sure, give me a pill because it's going to make me not have high cholesterol anymore. It's not going to make me feel better. It's just going to make me not have high cholesterol that I really didn't even know I had in the first place because my body hadn't.
I also think lack of knowledge allows fear to creep in. So a lot of people that are going, like I want to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. They just don't know because they haven't been educated on it. So they go to this doctor who they see as an authority and they're telling them, "Oh, this is bad. Take this pill. Like this could be scary." And they say, "Okay, put me on the pill." Like
Yeah.
apparently high blood pressure, high cholesterol, those are bad. Those things are bad. And if this pill's going to fix it, like sign me up. But when we educate ourselves, we're also empowering ourselves to take control and authority of our own health, which I think a lot of people just don't do because they don't know that's an option.
Yeah. And even if I can speak a little bit about Graham, my mom, she's been on a blood pressure pill probably since her late 30s. And now she's on three or four different blood pressure pills because the pill that she was originally on isn't really working. So we need to add another one to it. When her body gets adjusted to that, then we're going to add another one to it, So what is all that do? I'm not going there.
but now she can't come off.
No,
Because for
her body's dependent on it.
decades her body has regulated to it now, whereas if she would have just came home and changed something right then and there, she probably could have avoided that. But
Yep.
people don't know, and that's okay. That's
That's
why
okay.
That's why we're here.
we talk about it. Yeah. So then you can go whatever age anyone is listening to this, like if you're me and Kaylin's age, you can go bully your parents and say get off of all medication, or if you're like mom's age, you can just try and stop it before it starts.
And the question is even when we speak to people that are our age, and we listen to some of the stuff that they're on, why don't why don't you try this type of life and see if you can get off some of those meds? Like, see if the doctor will take you then off of it, because say you're diabetic. We have a friend that's very diabetic, and he tried some supplements and was able to lower his numbers and take him off of some of those medications. People just think, well, I'm on this medicine and I'm just going to do what I do because the medicine's taking care of it.
So, watching us now as adults, creating families, healthier lifestyles, becoming moms, what do you notice is different about our generation and how we approach health, fitness, lifestyle, all of those things based on, what you grew up with?
So I think what works for you guys is the fact that you have the ability in the palm of your hand to research and dig into a lot more information that's out there than what we ever did. Now, you guys both know I'm not into the whole technology. That's not something that I understand or dig into. But watching the two of you educate yourselves, and get out of just because that's how my mom did it type of mindset that I was brought up in, and I think my mom was brought up in, is wonderful, because I know then you're changing the future of the life and the family that you're creating. Again, I go back to, I was amazed and almost scared when you started giving Josie whole foods at 6 months. I'm like, she's gonna choke on it. Like, what? She can't chew. She doesn't have any teeth. Like, what the heck are you doing to this poor child? But I had to take a step back, which I did.
She thought I was
you
going to
know?
kill her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which I
literally.
did, and realize that times have changed. Kaylin has done her research. Kaylin understands the nutrition of what's important for her daughter, to go through life, which I didn't have that understanding. So I question, like I ask the questions, you know, but just so I can educate myself on why she believes this is going to be perfect for her daughter.
And wouldn't you agree that after you educated yourself that the fear kind of went away or even reduced a bit because then you understood?
I understood and I witnessed the benefit that it gave Josie. I mean, she is probably one of the non-pickiest 1-year-old that I've ever met. You know what I mean? She eats just about anything. And she's such a good eater, you know. So my fear has gone away by watching how you've presented it to Josie and how she's reacted to it. I don't have that fear. And when those days that I have her, I'm more mindful of, okay, what nutritional balance am I able to give her on days that she's here? I think about that more instead of, just making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'd love
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure.
I was gonna say Josie is the healthiest 1-year-old I've ever met. Because you even see like these other 1-year-olds and it's like, and granted, Josie lives an 80-20 lifestyle.
Oh, yes, she does.
She does. So she has like fries and all that kind of stuff, but like she doesn't, that's not the only thing she'll eat, which is so good.
Yeah.
Yes, we
The
will
Kraft
not be a
macaroni
chicken
and
nuggets
cheese.
and french fries. Yeah. Girl does love her mac and cheese, though.
Yeah, but it's homemade.
It
But
is.
it's homemade.
Mac and
Exactly.
cheese.
Exactly.
Let's take it back for a second. When you were a child, was it common for you to be sick a lot? And or was it common, were like infections common, or was it like the common cold? Was it like the flu? Were you guys even really sick? When you were sick, was it a big deal? What was...
To be very frank, like I don't remember that time in my life. So I don't remember being really sick. Like, I just don't. But to answer the question, I'm sure if we were ill, NyQuil was a big thing. Like, that was what Pap would, always have in the house, was NyQuil. So if you got sick, you took a shot of NyQuil at night and slept it off and would go on your way. I don't remember being down and out sick.
Gotcha. That's just something I was curious about because we have a lot of kids that are just sick with colds literally all the time.
So, Elle, I don't know if you remember, and we would tease about this, but you were sick a lot.
I had a severe illness when I was younger. I feel
What was your
because I was hooked up. I don't know. I was hooked up to this machine
breathing
all the time when I was younger. And I think I had a severe illness, but no one's telling me.
So you didn't have a severe illness. Again, I trusted the doctors. and because you were a little um out of breath when you would run in the gym, or when you'd get a cold, it would settle in your in your chest.
Because she was
I
chonky.
I didn't say that.
You're joking.
No, but listen, you would complain to me. And as a mom, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to the doctor to see what's wrong with you. And they'd put you on the albuterol, I think it was, and you would have to do breathing treatments. That's the machine that you were hooked up to, was just to breathe, because most of the time when you got sick, it would settle into your chest.
Well, I remember being very young hooked up to this machine.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
3, 4, 5.
Yep. Yep. That was
Okay.
a cold or something like that you had that settled into your chest. I took you to the doctor, and they would make me have you breathe through this machine.
Was there anything you put into the machine?
So it was a medication that they prescribed. That's what the albuterol was. The machine was just to force this steam into your lungs, and that medication got put into the machine, and then it was forced in through your lungs. So I think you're exactly right with, you started with that like when you were 3. You did it mainly when you were sick. It wasn't an everyday thing, but once it's in your record, I'd take you to the doctor if you were congested. They prescribe you the albuterol, and then I would do these breathing things for you for 5 to 7 days.
So how often, like how many times a year would you say we did that?
It was mainly winter-ish time, maybe 2, 3. You hated it, so that's probably why you remember it.
I know.
Yeah.
I do remember it. And I remember it very clearly, which makes me feel like it was more than 2, 3.
Mm-mm. You just hated it. You would put up a fuss. You just didn't like it. But it was 2, 3 times a year for several years until you grew out of that.
So what did they say was wrong with me?
I think it was just because you had congestion in your chest. Like, again, whenever you would get ill or whatever, it would settle to your chest.
So I grew out of that?
And I think so. Or we would give you different medication, like, Delsum or,
Delsum.
yeah.
At least it was orange.
It's supposed to taste better.
Then Robitussin, absolutely.
Yeah. The bright red and the bright orange medicine that we give to all the children, and the bright pink Pepto-Bismol.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So, but again, that's what we were told to do. It was lack of knowledge, following what the doctor recommended, to give the children. What we were told.
Okay. Just a few pregnancy questions, because we kind of went over breastfeeding and like before and all that kind of stuff. So just a few. Did you have any, I'm going to like comprise this into one question, so lock in.
Okay.
Did you have any complications while pregnant? Did the doctors put you on any kinds of medications? And what did your diet look like while pregnant, knowing, because you said with the breastfeeding you didn't know that your nutrients. So what did your diet look like knowing that as well?
So I did not have any complications with you, being pregnant with you. You were my first pregnancy. You were textbook. Like, I had morning sickness. I was taking prenatal vitamins. Actually, I think they were chewable. And what would stay down because I'd take them in the morning, and then halfway through the morning I'd get sick. So then, it just was what it was. And that was the first 4 months of the pregnancy. Diet wise, I ate whatever I was eating. Like, it didn't, again, compute like I should be eating nutritionally. Like, I didn't stop or do anything different before, during, or after because of lack
Okay.
of knowledge. And I had a very easy pregnancy. Very easy pregnancy.
Now, you keep saying your first pregnancy. So now your second pregnancy, as people know, I am an only child. So if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, and or well, Kaylin is involved as well, but you weren't pregnant with Kaylin. Um,
No,
but
no. She's a daughter I didn't give
do you
birth
want
to.
exactly? Um, but do you want to elaborate a little bit on if anything was different there? Any other kind of medication, any other kind of complications, or what that looked like? Or go ahead.
So, no, when I found out I was pregnant the second time, you were 15, 16 months old. Um, oh no, sorry. You would have been 15 or 16 months old when I would have had that baby. So anyway, I don't remember how, maybe 10,
I was going to
12
say, I think I
weeks.
remember you telling me that she was like 4 months old or something. You were like, it was
Yeah,
way too soon.
it was way too soon
Mm.
for me. But, um, again, wasn't educated on that. I know Kaylin has educated herself on, the good time to have another child. So again, I don't think my body was ready for it. I found out that I was pregnant because I had missed a period. I don't even remember that, to be honest with you. I do remember going to the doctor, finding out I was pregnant, being like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can be a mother of two. Like, I can do this. And then 9 weeks, I think I had my first ultrasound. Everything was healthy. Everything looked good. 14 weeks, I started to spot. So that wasn't normal. I didn't go through that with you. So immediately I call the doctor. He's like, I want to check you. So why don't you come in for another ultrasound? Again, I have not changed lifestyle whatsoever. I went from, being pregnant to having a baby to breastfeeding to being pregnant. So it was just, haven't changed what I was eating nutritionally or anything like that. At 14 weeks, I went in for another ultrasound, and I remember, while the lady was doing the ultrasound, not hearing the heartbeat. And I asked her, and I'm like, why don't I hear the heartbeat? And obviously, they're not trained or are allowed to tell us. He's like, well, let me just take some more measurements here, and, then the doctor will be in to talk to you. So at that point, I kind of had an idea. Here, I came to find out that the baby stopped growing at 12 weeks. And that's why there wasn't a heartbeat. So, then your body is amazing. And they scheduled me to have a D&C to go in and surgically remove that. Like, this was a Friday, I believe. I was supposed to go back in on a Tuesday to have, the D&C and clean everything out. And my body chose to go into labor and get rid of it on its own that night. So
That's crazy.
isn't it? Your body is amazing. It just is, because I literally went through all of that, like, labor and cramping and wanting to push and all that kind of stuff when that baby is only like 12 weeks old. Like, your
Yeah.
body knew it needed to get rid of it. So, looking back, did I blame myself? No, I didn't blame the fact that, maybe my body didn't, whatever. I truly believe, there was a purpose for everything, and God knew, whether there was something wrong with the baby, or God just knew it wasn't going to work in my life.
Gotcha. But you didn't feel necessarily different except for the spotting.
Correct. Correct. I had no idea that this baby was no longer alive. None.
And I feel like a lot of people, especially, back probably around that time, because that was still early 2000s, like people didn't really talk about those things much. So was there anything like beyond, like, was there any support for you? Was there anyone that you could kind of like talk to like get through that? Because it's a loss.
My personality is, it happened. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just going to move forward with it. So no, I didn't have a support. I mean, my mom was great. Like, my mom was with me through the whole thing. Like, I don't want to say that she wasn't a support system, but it really, I didn't really talk about it. It happened. Mm-hmm. It was done. It wasn't, I think I just pushed on. Now, if I didn't have Ellie at the time, would I have reacted a little bit differently? Would there have been a little bit more? But I had Ellie to just go and hold and hug. Mm-hmm. I had the baby. It was just, you know what I mean? But if I would have had a miscarriage and didn't have that, mm-hmm. I think I probably would have dealt with it differently. But I had Ellie to go and hold. Mm-hmm. Big difference.
And weren't you taking care of me like the whole time you were going through this miscarriage and all that kind of stuff too?
What do you mean taking care of you? Like, I was still breastfeeding. I was still, oh yeah.
Yeah, like you're actively going through a miscarriage, but like life goes on, and like you had to like probably like put me to sleep that night and everything. Absolutely. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And my question to you is, were you back at work on Monday?
Yes. Yep. I was. That's
crazy.
That's just me. That's just me. That's just how I handled it. Not everybody's going to handle it that way. I know that. And I'm not stronger or non-emotional because of that's the way I handled it. That's how I dealt. It was easier mm-hmm. to not go down that path. It was easier just to say, okay, this happened. I'm going to move on from it.
Yeah.
But now I feel as if I can talk about this to just about anybody. Could I have talked about it or shared it back when it happened? Probably not. But now I can be like, I've been there.
So the last question before we get to like the golden final question is, if you could speak directly to moms raising daughters today, what's one thing you wish they knew about modeling a healthy relationship with food and their bodies?
So I think with that being said, like, I am definitely not an expert on this, and I'm only going off watching what Kaylin has been doing with Josie, which I think is just amazing. And I really believe like that is the platform new moms should be going off of. Like, don't listen to how your mom did it. Don't listen to how your grandma raised, the family. You talk about going back to the basics. Going back to the basics is good when it comes to the whole foods and, that type of thing. But don't go back to the formulas or, all the easy tricks that, that's out there for new moms to have. Like, get the knowledge that you need to bring up this healthy child, and continue to learn, because I think it's changing all the time. Like, how I did it is definitely not the way that you girls should be bringing up your family. Even though you guys turned out wonderful. You turned out great humans, great women, great moms, great wives. But again, it's because you guys have put in the work to do the research on your own.
And I think that's a lot of what our society has done, is they've stopped seeking that education. They've stopped being the own expert of their health and raising their families. So I love that you mentioned that, is just keep learning.
And don't necessarily learn from one source. Like, keep your options open, because what I've found with social media and the internet, you can learn something that fits your agenda no matter what topic it is. So make sure that you're cross-referencing what you're hearing with what other people are saying and not just one source.
So this conversation really reminds us that healing doesn't mean rewriting our past. It really means that we just need to understand it. So much of what we believe about health and food and our bodies didn't start with us, but we do decide how and what we get to carry forward. And that's why we want to end every episode of the Sis Let's Heal podcast with our guest speakers with the same question, because it's not just for our guests, but it's for all of our listeners as well. So the golden question is, if someone feels overwhelmed or behind on their wellness journey, what would you want them to hear right now?
That it's okay, because each day is a new day to get it right. Like, don't think about what you did wrong yesterday. Focus on what you're doing right today.
She just thought of that off the top of her noggin.
That's how it's supposed to be.
That was damn good advice.
All right. Thank you so much for being here and your vulnerability and your honesty and just being a part of this conversation. And to our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need the reminder that healing isn't linear and you're not behind. Make sure that you're subscribed to us, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Don't forget to leave us a review if you love this episode, and we'll see you next time on the Sis Let's Heal podcast.